The nanotechnology and the biotechnology filters down from the hydrosphere into the water supply and the food chain. And now every American, all 318 million Americans are infected.
See, nanocells are real small, 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work, replicating, spreading like a virus, multiplying in exponentials. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people converted, ditch diggers, porn stars, and presidents. Not one would be the wiser. 100 million people who buy what I want them to buy and do pretty much damn well anything I figure they ought to do.
Anything that the nanotech is in can be manipulated through this 5G system. And the nanotech is in everything. They spray the nanotech in the skies. They put nanotech in the food. Even with what we flush down through our drains in our own homes, gets passed on down through the water system. So you see this in the food chain, and there's nanotech in the food that we're eating and nanotech in the stuff that we're washing down the drains. And of course it ends up in the river system, it ends up in the fish, ends up in the algae, ends up in everything.
Or the nanoparticles that are already within our system and remaining dormant at this point. Targeted individuals are not dormant, of course, with their nanoparticles, the nanomachines and nanotransmitters and receivers. So what I'm getting out of this, Dr. Karlstrom, is the absolute factual statement of this technology. This is not, out in the woo land. You're talking about a gentleman with firsthand knowledge of this technology existing today and operating today.
Every human and non-human creature is going to have these things in their system, which then can be used. So it's really the nanotechnology plus the electromagnetic energy from the supercomputer.
And these are, like I said, quantum computers and supercomputers such as the D-Wave system and the Titan system. The Titan system is a D-Wave computer anyway. But these are based on quantum computing. If you consider your body, you being an electrical being, and your DNA tuned to a particular frequency that harvests Dan Dicks from the surrounding field, there's only really one consciousness, we each harvest a frequency of it. Can they create a quantum computer by mapping your DNA and mimic that signal and then harvest your consciousness into a mainframe, or can they affect your consciousness in the field and see signals that way? I mean, this is all the stuff that they're experimenting on. It's pretty out there to a lot of people. But as I said, all you've got to do is go and read the DARPA patents, and this is what they're telling you in the mainstream. So what are they not telling us?
As an insider with detailed information of this entire fucking program and how it works from top to bottom, I am privy to some details that most are not. And that is that the true way that this technology works is that a complete DNA profile is obtained from the target. And then this information, the DNA of the individual, is used to determine the resonant frequency of the DNA itself. The resonant frequency is then used to fine-tune the technology, the radio frequency signals, the microwave auditory effect, and all of the other aspects of the technology to tune it perfectly to the resonant frequency of the targeted individual's DNA.
And this has been done by Morgellons and the 3-strand DNA, and this is going to be hooked up to the 3-strand DNA computers they are building. Morgellons is essentially a bioelectrical magnetic organism that functions according to certain electromagnetic fields. And when you look at how it responds to certain magnetic fields, and there's people that have done tests on Morgellons and seen, then you can start to begin to understand why we are subject to so many of the electromagnetic fields that we're subject to. We are energetic electrical beings. That's how we work. Everything is electrical. Every signal that runs through our body is electricity. Everything, every thought we have, everything we feel, every touch, everything we speak, it's all the result of electromagnetic signals floating around our body, impulses that come from our heart, from our brain, the way we feel a bench when we touch it. This is an electrical signal that's sent to your brain that tells you what the bench feels like. So it's all electromagnetics.
The true holy grail in terms of this technology is DNA resonant frequency. It taps right into the DNA, and it does it remotely by resonating with the exact frequency that your DNA resonates.
And this is going to be hooked up to the 3-strand DNA computers they are building. And these are, like I said, quantum computers and supercomputers such as the D-Wave system.
2048, that is the number of qubits in the D-Wave computer. That is also the quaternary amplitude modulation, or QAM, of 5G Wi-Fi. So the qubits have a direct correlation in number to the actual amplitude modulation of the 5G signal that is being broadcast. Therein lies your transmission medium between computer and brain to complete the interface.
The driving force of the 21st century will be powerful processing centralized in the cloud and wirelessly connected to thin clients.
They can literally plug you into the internet, which is, just to give you a very simple way of understanding that. Okay, they've done the experiments on it, it's tolerated very well, and they call it a brain net. To the listener, you'll understand that as the hive mind.
We will connect wirelessly our neocortex to the cloud.
This will replace the internet. It'll become a brain net.
And the whole agenda is for humanity to have technology put inside the body, inside the brain. Nanotechnology will connect the human mind to the cloud.
In a way, the future shapes the now. Think of a world where all things are connected, a world with artificial intelligence everywhere. This is the vision that leads us to the cloud. The cloud has become a force of its own.
A group of scientists say we are closer than ever to creating technology which can emerge with human biology in order to access the cloud in real time.
They mentioned something called deep learning, where the CIA is getting technology from Amazon.
The company has signed a $600 million deal with the CIA, and Daily Finance reports it doesn't have anything to do with buying books.
Amazon will help the agency build a private cloud infrastructure to keep up with emerging technologies.
This deal would be a game changer for both the CIA and Amazon. Bloomberg reports the pairing would innovate new uses for cloud technology.
This level of technology could include brain-to-brain interfaces, brain-to-computer interfaces, and specifically brain-to-cloud interfaces. Technology linking the brain to the cloud could drastically alter the state of communications between humans and machines. The senior author of the study noted that once inside the brain, the devices would then wirelessly transmit encoded information to and from a cloud-based supercomputer network for real-time brain state monitoring and data extraction.
They control the mind the same way that they teach the AI computer systems at the high level of AI. We're not talking about cars and trains and planes and automobiles. Okay, we're talking about AI that is so sophisticated that it operates a sentient world simulation, so sophisticated that it actually taps in and controls the mind.
And this has been done via Morgellons and the 3-strand DNA, and this is going to be hooked up to the 3-strand DNA computers they are building. And these are, like I said, quantum computers and supercomputers such as the D-Wave system.
And again, we've been tracking the company D-Wave as well as its connection to Google and NASA and Lockheed Martin as well. These are all companies that have invested in the D-Wave.
And Google was the primary interested party that pulled this whole thing together. What they're going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's the crux of our future as humans, and that's, can we build machines like us?
Robots as smart as people. Artificial intelligence, AI. The idea is to port the software from the human brain.
The quantum computer, they're trying to create neural networks. Well, what's the best way to create neural networks? Plug in the real brain, right? Because the simulations can happen. The quantum computer can simulate a human brain now.
So rather than hardware and software, they're actually going to a new form of software, and that is the biological replacement of the human brain, functioning as a quantum computer biologically, and then loading people, integrating people into this new form of brain.
And what these things are likely capable of is beyond all imagination, really. I mean, if you start looking at quantum computing and where it's going, it's pretty freaky sort of stuff. There's only really one consciousness. We each harvest the frequency of it. Can they create a quantum computer by mapping your DNA and mimic that signal and then harvest your consciousness into a mainframe, or can they affect your consciousness in the field and send signals that way? I mean, this is all the stuff that they're experimenting on.
Your brain reality is your reality. And if, in fact, I can import information into that brain and take outputs from that brain and link that to an avatar so that brain thinks that it's embodied, moving in the world and experiencing the world, can we do this? Yeah, we can do these kind of things.
Once you have connected the targeted individual with the frequency and they resonate together, then you have a perfect avenue upon which to send and receive information back and forth.
This is an article from 10 years ago. Sentient World, War Games on the Grandest Scale. The DoD is developing a parallel to planet Earth with billions of individual nodes to reflect every man, woman and child this side of the dividing line between reality and AR.
The human genome, we have a finite in the hundreds of thousands of different genes across our species. And we mapped them out in the Human Gene Project. Well, now it's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
And the goal is to make a cognitive model or map of the victim's brain. Ultimately, the system replicates and digitizes the will, intellect, and emotions, the soul of the targets, and downloads this back into the conscious computer.
Robots, the smartest people. Artificial intelligence, AI. The idea is to port the software from the human brain. First, we're going to need lots of cheap, fast, parallel computers.
He was referring to parallel processors, about servers. What he did not state was that it is actually the quantum computer systems coming out of D-Wave that actually creates and drives this new matrix known as the SWS. It is not transistor-based servers that run this. They are qubits, quantum bits, that it is the SWS and D-Wave that comprises this new matrix.
Second, we're going to need to scan individual human brains in fine spatial and chemical detail to see exactly what cells are where, connected to what, or what type.
We could scan my brain from inside, sending scanners through the bloodstream, billions of them, in the form of nanorobots or nanobots, and capture every detail of my synapses and neurotransmitters, and create a virtual Ray Kurzweil in a very powerful computer, and it would be indistinguishable from me. It would pass a Ray Kurzweil Turing test.
And third, we're going to need computer models of how each kind of brain cell works, taking input signals, changing interval state, and sending output signals. If we have good enough models of all the kinds of brain cells and a good enough model of a brain, we can put it together to make a good enough model of an entire brain. And that model would have the same input-output behavior as the original. So if you talk to it, it might talk back. If you ask it to do things, it might do them. And if we could do that, everything would change.
The Manhattan Project gave us the atomic bomb. The Genome Project gave us the human genome. The third great initiative could be the Connectome Project, to map the entire human brain. And that may take a quantum computer.
Okay, the first thing I can tell you is that M's spend most of their life in virtual reality. While this is what you would look like in virtual reality, this is what an M would look like in virtual reality. It's computer hardware sitting in a server rack somewhere. But still, it could see and experience the same thing. But some things are different for M's. An M can make archive copies, and with enough redundant archives, an M can be immortal, in principle, though not usually in practice. And an M can move its brain, the computer that represents its brain, from one physical location to another. M's can actually move around the world at the speed of light. And by moving to a new location, they can interact more quickly with M's near that new location.
Emulation is really what we talk about in the SWS as the nodes, the avatars. Every single person on the planet, okay, out of Purdue University's own paper in 2006, every person is assigned a avatar. They're represented computationally in the AI system that drives the SWS as a computer node, but they're given an avatar marker. Take the avatar and hang the word emulation on it. In other words, they've been tracking us, they've been reproducing us, reproducing our metadata for years.
We can model every single atom, every single molecule with a three-dimensional structure in every single brain.
They claim they've modeled the personality of every adult in the United States, 230 million people. And SCL, the mothership group, they do work in any number of countries. They're involved in politics in many countries. They put together a micro-shot personality assessment for everyone.
M's are very much like humans, but they are not like the typical human. The typical M is a copy of the few hundred most productive humans.
If you construct a model of the human brain, you can then plug people into this hive mind.
As an insider with detailed information of this entire fucking program and how it works from top to bottom, I am privy to some details that most are not. What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game. And that is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level.
We talk often about the quantum computers, the kind of ability they've got to map and model humanity itself because of this Internet of Things that is all around us now as well. We're feeding all of our information back into this quantum computer that's basically got a virtual world where all of us have a digital avatar in there. They're able to manipulate the digital avatar in a virtual world, and that's actually translated to effects in the real world.
The overall effect of this technology is one that can control the mood, the attitudes, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and thus the motivations, and then the actions of the target. All day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is infuriating. It is highly, highly illegal, and it must be stopped now.
So SWS is what is manipulating people. And Kev, you said it, the avatars and the nodes, when those are manipulated digitally in the simulation, it manifests physically in the human brain and the physical body. Outside of the SWS, it is like pulling strings. It is like a puppet on a string.
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, we could literally see a screen pop up. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms that would give us everything AR would without any glasses.
This technology can be used to beam images and even motion pictures into one's brain. Images and motion pictures that are so realistic that you think you're actually watching a movie or seeing something in reality. It's like a virtual reality 3D rendering that takes place within the target's mind.
The virtual reality example is but one sample of the effects of high-speed, low-latency connectivity, and why American leadership in 5G must be a national priority.
These nanobots, these blood cell-sized devices, will be going in our bodies. We'll have some go inside our brains through the capillaries, non-invasively. They'll be interacting with our biological neurons. They'll put our brains on the internet, and they'll also enable us to enter a virtual reality environment from within the nervous system. So if I want to go in a virtual reality environment, the nanobots will shut down the signals coming from my real eyes and my real skin and create the signals that would be appropriate for the virtual environment. And then it'll feel like I'm in that environment.
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, they could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies.
This has been going in parallel development to the model numbers of the D-Wave computers. They work lockstep because the adiabatic quantum computers runs the sentient world simulation, which also encompasses Palantir, which we have talked about. This is the new surveillance system that has subsystems all built within it from the intelligence agencies around the world.
The movie Minority Report famously portrayed a society where police harnessed the power of psychic precogs to arrest people for crimes before they are ever actually committed. A 2012 Department of Homeland Security report boasts that Palantir's tech can be used to predict future activities.
So in moving down that path of pre-crime profiling, we're accepting that it is legitimate to impose consequences based on robotic precogs conclusions about what you're likely to do in the future.
Now, finally, I just want to ask you one detail. In this new report by Open the Government, they mentioned something called deep learning, where the CIA is getting technology from Amazon to, in a sense, predict people's behavior. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially the CIA is attempting to use artificial intelligence, AI, and that's where all the focus, by the way, of these tech companies is right now, is into artificial intelligence. Not using real people, but using predictive methods to determine bad behavior, to determine crime, to determine terrorism, to really control the population.
We've had confirmation of this in the mainstream, albeit veiled, because Amazon, who are one of the customers of the D-Wave quantum computer, they released a story, and for me it was just almost them giving away what they could do, because they were saying they'll be able to predict what you're going to buy ahead of time and have it ready to ship before you even click the button. And this is all the predictive algorithms because they've been watching our behavior so long.
And I know it sounds so Orwellian, it sounds science fiction even to say these things, and yet that has been the primary focus of companies like Amazon over the last few years, has been to really delve deep into AI. The CIA is heavily funding these efforts in order to have predictive technology that will determine outcomes.
There are millions of people who don't even realize that they are being manipulated beyond any discussion of the Mandela effects, because those are obvious. What's insidious is that millions of people do not have a conscious awareness that there are thoughts being implanted in their minds today and have been for a long time.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe?
If you go all the way back to Norbert Wiener, the goal of creating artificial intelligence was to create an all-seeing eye, a global computer that sees all, sees everything, and to become gods.
If our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, all of us connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes, and literally live through what he sees.
Ultra-high resolution, fully immersive, transparent shadowing. Brain-to-cloud supercomputer technologies may permit users to experience fully immersive, real-time episodes of the lives of any human participant on the planet, via non-intrusive transparent shadowing. An individual might literally experience another person's life, through their own eyes, for a predetermined duration via an extra life session. We will be able to change our appearance and effectively become other people, Kurzweil.
This technology can also tap into the optical nerve of the target and the auditory system of the target, so that those monitoring the target can see what the target is seeing and hear what the target is hearing. This information is then downloaded and stored on a computer in a highly secure, classified site on servers that are guarded by some of the tightest security in the world. This results in the individual's entire day, everything they see, everything they hear, everything they experience, and everything they feel being recorded till the end of time.